Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for coming to our first community conversation with the superintendent of the school committee. For those who I don't know personally, I'm Oviedo superintendent in my 6th year here, some of them here. Tonight we wanted to take this opportunity. These community conversations are something that we've been doing for about 3 years now, because we found that when we were doing public comment in a school committee meeting, which is the business of the school committee, there's not enough time to have back and forth conversation. So we started these, especially during the pandemic, with our reopening plans, with discussions about safety, ways when we can more meaningfully engage with the people and families in our district. So that's our plan for tonight. We're going to try to keep it fairly structured, because it's really important to us that we listen to where our community is at, as opposed to reading reports or giving out a ton of information. How do we collect, using these 4 guiding questions, the information I'm going to people? It's for the school committee and their ability to report back to the planning board, but it's also for us to think about things that we might want to do for the presentation, we want to have additional community conversations about, because clearly we need to get that information. So I'm going to turn it over to our Sarah, Bonnie Silvers.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm so pleased that despite recent warnings of weather changes, that you made it here, and we clearly have a wonderful turnout via Zoom. As Beth said, we have to follow during school committee meetings certain strictures. And as a result, there have been complaints. Why can't we talk about this? Why aren't you responding to me? And after there being a number of court cases related to this, the guidelines we have to follow is during public speak, you can speak on any topic on the agenda. So that's one stricture. And that any response, if any, has to come through me. And the big thing that we have felt, especially with the number of new school committee members, and 4 out of 5 of us on the planning board are new to the planning board, we needed to have greater input from the community and hear what members of the community are hearing, reacting to, and to give us greater guidance on this whole issue of the potential merger between our school district and Berkshire Hills Regional School District. So we asked Beth early on in the academic year, could she have a community forum on this topic? And then we reiterated our desire once there was an election and new school committee members came on board. So you hopefully will be educating us. We are not giving reports. We are here really to hear you. And if there are things that are missing, we've got a recorder both on a laptop as well as pertinent points being placed on the large pad here. So that will give us plenty of opportunity for feedback, we hope. And without further ado,
you just like also what Bonnie is, people are having trouble hearing.
oh,
Okay.
okay. Let me introduce, oh, great, join us.
We've already taken it back.
Let me introduce the members of the school committee who are here. We have Jim DePisa from Egremont, Art Pataki from Sheffield, Kim Alcantara from Monterey, and so far both Jim and Kim are also on the regional planning board. We have Kyle Bartlett, who just joined us from Egremont, Dennis Sears from Sheffield, Carl Stewart from Alford, who also is on the planning board, David Rogers Terriot from Sheffield. So that's, unfortunately, we have two people who are traveling who couldn't make it. So thank you all very much for being here. And again, thank all of you.
Okay, so to do this, is good? Okay. So in order to guide the conversation in a way that we can reflect the situation, we wanted to start with what are the perceptions of where we are in this process of this issue. And the reason we started here is because we've been having a lot of internal conversations as it's budget time and budget season. I've heard all sorts of things. So we're getting an idea of where people think we actually are in this process. I can give more specific examples, but I don't know. So let's see what you guys have to say. Where do you think we are? Shout it out.
We want to bring a mic over?
Yeah. That's okay, that's an important perception. We're done. Hey, did you get that?
We have so many people on Zoom. We want to make
That's
sure
okay.
we're capturing.
Yes. I'm doing my best. Okay, so the question is, what is your perception of where we are on this initiative? So far we have, I'm not sure, and I think we're in the making things.
How long have you been meeting on this particular? How long have you been meeting on this particular issue of merge?
Almost 3 years.
Where are you at as far as how it benefits the faculty, the teachers, and the students?
Okay, so I think we just gonna, I'm not answering, we're just reflecting.
Beth, could you repeat the answer that one of the comments so that everyone can hear it?
Sure. So this said was, where are you in phase? Like, how long have you been meeting? 3 years. And the next part of her thought was, how does it impact, where are you and how it impacts the faculty and staff and students?
Yes, perception is that we'd like to bring it to a vote, in the spring town meetings.
And just let me know people on Zoom who would like to. Yeah, John.
Not more information specifically internal education to cost.
Thanks. Did everybody hear that? I'll try to repeat. You hear it? So she said that she didn't feel that we had enough info at this point to vote on two issues, what the educational impact would be, and correct me if I don't get your response. And you might have.
Is it possible to get them to tell the town, not their names or anything, but the town that they came from when they're asking these questions? So we can get a temperature on what they're perceiving through their towns? If they don't mind?
Okay, so going forward, we'll try to identify what town you're from.
Okay.
Okay. First one, Sheffield. Do you want to say something, sir? Have a question?
I have not sure that. I just wanted to. What will happen to this teacher? For those of us who want to clear it up.
Would you repeat that? Could you repeat that?
Well, I'm curious what will happen procedurally to resolve this agreement. How this
So I'm not gonna necessarily answer, but we can get that time for a spot on track.
I'll give you a limited response. The Regional Planning Board is comprised of 3 people from each of the 8 towns that people submitted in the different towns their interests, and then the moderator made the selections. The group has then, and every town has to have a school committee member. There are subcommittees within this larger regional planning board. And they meet in the areas of operations, in the area of finance, and in the area of education, and in the area of community outreach. What was initially done was to get a temperature of where the districts are. So an assessment of resources, and when we say resources, it's everything from physical plant to buses, to teachers, etc. From that point, we hired with funding. I mean, this has been, the Regional Planning Board has been very proactive in bringing in funding so that this has not become a burden for the towns. As a result of the different reports, the initial decision upon which the Regional Planning Board is now doing further research and taking further actions is not unanimously, but by a majority, that there should be a unified 8-town school district. And with the 8-town school district, there would be one high school in the resolution, one high school, which is now shown as being where the current Monument Mountain exists. So based on that resolution, there has been further actions taken, further research has taken place. Initially, it was hoped that there would be a vote this May and June in each of our towns on a warrant item, which would bring forth to all the townspeople a new regional agreement. And with the assistance of a lawyer, with a group of individuals, there is a new regional agreement that is drafted. I'm going to tell you, the number 8, towns.org. You can see all of the reports, you can find minutes, you can see the latest version of the regional agreement. Also, what has been determined is that there would be a transition period. And there's been a lot of discussion about how this transition period would be enacted. And during that transition period, there would be a transition school committee. There would be transition leadership. during the whole period of time until any of this happens, we operate as the Southern Berkshire Regional School District. We are doing our budget as the Southern Berkshire Regional School District. There are no guarantees in any area. So at this point, we just received the latest revision of the regional agreement. The full board, the full regional planning board meets again tomorrow evening. Again, you can log on, it's totally Zoom, and you can see what is going on. Given a lot of the information that has come out and the reports that have come out, there's been a sense that this will not be voted on this May and June, and that there would be a need for a special town meeting. And that is within the purview of the Regional Planning Board to make that recommendation. So I don't know if that addresses to any extent the question. There are numerous moving parts that are ongoing. Carl,
I just wanted to.
you have a mic, you need a mic.
Do I need a mic?
You do.
I think it's gonna look much better. People ask the question and you repeat it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're the only one people are hearing.
Oh, okay. Will do. Go to it, Dr. Stewart.
Well, what am I, do I ask you the question?
No, ask the question and I
Okay.
will repeat it.
The young man, in what looks like a baseball cap, and this isn't the criticism, it's just a comment on what he had to say. He said, he asked, what is the procedure for resolving the disagreement? And that's not what we're doing, resolving a disagreement. We're resolving many things, but to phrase it as resolving a disagreement, it really misstates what the issue is.
Sir,
In my view.
given the fact that Mr. Stewart thinks I did not answer your particular question, would you mind if I am wrong to restate your question?
I think you have to say what Mr. Stewart said, though.
No, I mean, I have understood that some people were in favor of finding school districts and that some people were opposed to that. And I just wanted to understand how eventually, as a matter of procedure, people would decide whether or not to do that. Example.
That will,
Every time I can agree with it. It's what seven. Agree to it at one time. There wasn't agreement under the precedent, maybe that would block the whole thing. Well, maybe not in the majority. Areas there, so that would be an example of a question about how it was to work. Procedure, that's something. It may be.
Okay.
No, it's just
Mr. Stewart, thank you for bringing up the fact that I was not totally clear in responding to the disagreement issue. Everything gets decided.
You have to repeat, paraphrase what he just said first.
All right, the question that has been brought up is the issue of disagreements, that there are people who are for the merger and people against, and how is that addressed? Also, what happens if one town says no and 7 towns say yes? You brought up real issues. The absolute vote is on the warrant. So you could have in Monterey, 150 people voting and 76 vote one way and 74, I hope my math is right, vote the other way. And you will have the majority rule on the decision of Monterey. There continue in every town, we have heard both sides, for and against, and that's a major part of why we're bringing this group together, because you just brought up something where we definitely in the regional planning board puts out monthly updates. And this might be a topic where we could get more information out to the public on ultimately what happens in a vote. If towns disagree. And yes, I'm sure we reported that on the list.
Yeah.
Renee, oh, she needs the mic.
First of all, people are dropping off
Yeah.
because they can't hear what's going on. So
Renee,
no,
No one can hear you. Yes, and if you could come up to the hour when you speak, then people should be able to hear you. That's why they think you're fine.
should I use a microphone?
Please come up to the hour and they'll be able to hear you. Thank you.
All right, we're addressing the problem of hopefully of you not hearing.
So let's try this. I don't know if people can hear. I would like to follow up on the question from the gentleman from Monterey. I am confused as to who votes for what. I have been told this is an 8-town vote, all in, all or all out. Then I've been told that no, 7 towns can vote, and the one who votes no is out. So has there been any decision on this? I had asked Jake this question, but I haven't heard back. So this is a real basic point. Is this all or nothing? So maybe somebody can address that. Thank you.
If I could just have a thumbs up if you were able to hear that question.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe didn't. Thank you, Renee. Definite follow-up. Yeah. Do we have questions, Chris, that you could see from? Yeah, I see.
We will get the right, we'll follow up, and I think it's important. I have to stand over here because apparently the owl's not waking me up either. So we will follow up. What we're doing is compiling all the questions, and if a lot of people have that, we want to make sure we're all getting the same consistent answer. So we will follow up, and these will be the questions that the school committee members bring to the board, and that we will disseminate appropriately.
Yeah.
Hi, so just to kind of add this to the bowl of sometimes misinformation, sometimes unclear information, I think that the board would really serve the town really well if we had just clear, what are the numbers, what are the, really the numbers. The biggest thing that I think a lot of people are concerned with is the actual numbers. What is it going to cost the town? Simple questions like how many towns are needed for the vote to go through. I feel like that's been asked in every one of these meetings, and still, no matter where you go, it's unclear. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that although this board claims to be fully transparent, and I think that they are, I think that a lot of it's buried in the pages, and what's said at the meetings is really often unclear. So yeah. I'm from Lee.
But a member of our staff.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right.
If I talk like this, can you hear me?
I'm gonna take a chair.
Well, I'd like to take a chair, but. Okay. So question number 2 we had was, and I think we started to do some of this, but what information or what do you need to know in order to make a decision about how to vote on this initiative? So we started down that path, but what other questions do you have that we can get answered for?
Great, we have a number of hands. We have a number of hands on this one.
Come on down, buddy.
Come down to the owl.
Right.
Why should I go to a school where I would be lowered on an educational level so another person can feel nice, feel good about themselves? Let me guess, you're gonna get any of that?
Would you repeat your question?
Okay, why should I go to a school where I would be lowered on an educational level so another person who would be lower than me currently at this school, could feel good?
Oh, I don't think,
I think he's talking about when Monument did away with their AP classes and.
Yeah.
Prep classes.
oh, okay. To repeat, the question is, why should he be going to a school, assuming he's now leaving here and there's a merger, and he's going to a school where he would be in a situation where you would feel lower than somebody who here is actually lower on the grade level academically than you are. And he's referring to a change that has taken place in the organization at the high school at Monument Mountain, with elimination of some advanced placements, some courses that were not heterogeneous, that they were homogeneous. One of the things that you need to know in the final, should this all go through, in the final design of a new high school, that is in no way guaranteed that one model or another model runs the school. So the idea is, and that's part of the questions we have here, is what's important in what you envision for your education and what families envision. So it doesn't mean that you're ready to go into Mount Everett and what you wind up doing is getting the Monument Mountain curriculum. It will be a new school if this goes through. Thank you for asking the question.
There's this
Question on Zoom. Larry and Burke. Oh, Jane Burke and Larry.
There we go. Go ahead, Larry.
Yeah, I would like to know what the effect of a merger might be on the early college initiative.
The question, in case any of you did not hear, and so that the owl could hear, is what would the impact be on early college program? And that has been brought up, where we have the person here, but we're not getting in. If we have time, I'd like you, Lindsay, to address it. What would happen is we have been basically guaranteed by Simon's Rock that we continue with our program. That's what's been funded. What has been funded is the grants are for Mount Everett. So anything that was to happen in the future has not been broken down, and it has definitely been raised at a number of planning board subcommittee meetings, full committee meetings, because it is something that clearly we are proud of here. And it definitely has been on the list of critical questions. We have some other hands in the back. Oh,
We'll start.
Hang on, I was waiting in line here. That's all
yeah,
right.
come on to the owl.
Yes, I'm coming down to the owl. So I'm starting to see sort of a theme here that one of the big questions is the educational component, which Renee and I know Elizabeth and I all attended a educational visioning session a couple weeks ago in Sheffield. And, you know, I know that, you know, I have 3 kids at New Marlboro Central, and just, I think the district is amazing and offers a lot of amazing things to all of our students, including the early college. I mean, I was like, that to me, I was so impressed with, thinking that all of my kids could graduate with 30 credit hours of school before they even started in college, if they choose that path. Now, they may not, and they may want to have vocational opportunities, which is great, and I would love that. I'm a huge advocate for the trades, especially in this time. However, there may be undecided students who, you know, don't know what they want and to do, but we want to ensure that they're prepared for whatever is next. And I feel like that's something we haven't heard about. It seemed like when we were at the session that this all needed to be fleshed out yet. So to me, before there's any chance that I could make any decision, I need to be able to make an informed decision, which this would be key to.
Thank you very much for sharing it.
Come here. Should I go over here? Right, yeah, just wait closer. Make sure we hear you.
Oh, okay, so I wrote my questions down, so I'm directly answering this question. What information do you need to know in order to vote? An updated budget. Because my understanding is the budget is like 10 or 15 years, it's like really old, and obviously inflation, construction costs have gone up. So I think it was like 2 million.
1 second.
Or something. No, it was more than 2 billion.
That they could hear.
Oh, can they hear?
Thumbs up if you can hear the person questioning. Okay. Good.
Yeah. Okay, updated budget. So come closer.
Why don't you sit and face this?
Okay, I'll sit and
Yeah,
face this.
we're all gonna sit here together.
Okay. Second thing, top priorities, goals of a merge. Like, what are the top priorities of this merge? What are the goals? Like, I feel like there's been a lot of ideas and a lot of kind of generalization, but very clear top priorities and goals. A much more detailed timeline. When is this building going to open? What grade are we talking about being the first ones in this high school? So we can all get our heads around it. You know, I think everyone wants a really detailed timeline. And the last thing would be, after the vote, what happens? Are we voting to proceed no matter what? Obviously, this is a long process that's going to involve a lot of people making decisions and seeing if this is going to work theoretically, right? Or are we just voting to say, we're gonna make this work no matter what? That's been very unclear. What are we voting on? So those are my 4. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to the hot seat. Monterey.
Lindy Marcel, a Sheffield resident, former New Marlboro resident. The information I would like to know before making a vote is about education quality. And I know that different schools have different ways of providing quality education, but I'd like to know how the quality would improve, or in what ways it won't improve. Maybe it will be lower quality in some areas, but I'd like to see information about that. And I think it should be based in data and not personal opinion. Thank you.
Lindsay, just hold on. Go ahead.
Okay. How about we do that?
I got this one.
I got the first one. I can go down the list.
Okay, got it. Why don't we do it, Jesse, you call them out in order.
So the first one's up there. What is the timeline to go live, assuming approved? Is there the building of the new structure at the Great Barrington site in play in this plan?
That's one thing that, love, talk to the owl. The two things are happening at once. There is a separate track for building a new high school. So Monument Mountain has been invited into a very competitive MSBA, Massachusetts Building School Building Authority grant process. They are proceeding with all of the guidelines, all of the research, all of the work they have to do in order to hopefully get a grant for a new high school. One of the issues that they have to face is, do they put in that they are designing a high school for what they perceive as their current Monument Mountain population, or are they designing a high school for both districts, all 8 towns attending high school? So that is a separate track. We are informed as the planning board of what is happening. We do not in any way control that. That is done through Monument Mountains, obviously Berkshire Hills Regional School District leadership, and they have a building team that is working on all of that now. So actually, we can't give a date because it depends on a couple of things, one of which does Berkshire Hills get a grant, which could give them a projected 46% of the cost that's put in based on originally what was $100 million as the projection. There is also a bonus that you may have heard about, which is by working with our district, they can gain a potential 6% additional funding that would be added to their grant. So if we use a flat 100 million, we would then say the 6% would be 6 million. So we, again, the regional planning board is separate from the building of the high school. The plan is, no matter what happens, the towns have basically said, the last time I heard, it could be different, the 3 towns have said they will build a new high school. So that's that issue. All right, Jesse, ready for the next one?
So the next one is essentially, this campus was built roughly 30 years ago to handle a population of 2,000 students. Why has the option of not building a new school? Why has the option not been, don't build a new school, but instead move all the high school students to Sheffield campus?
Right.
All right, the question is, this campus was originally built according to for 2,000.
It was.
All right.
No, it is true.
Yes, okay, it was built for, as a community campus for 2,000. Why hasn't it been decided that this would be the campus for the high school? This was one of the options that was reviewed in the early studies. And to a great extent, because of geographic location, it did not receive a positive vote. The sense was that there should be a new monument mountain. But here's where I editorialize. We do not lose our pride in how we have kept up these buildings.
To, that person's comment also said, it seems like this is a once in a generation decision. Discussing what we envision for the future seems to be of vital importance prior to choosing the path and joining of districts.
Absolutely,
Face the owl when you say that.
absolutely.
Give a hand. Come on down.
Come on down to the
Okay, and we'll
owl.
go there.
Hello, so it is very clear why the merger would benefit Berkshire Regional School District, the new school. This school is perfect. It's a wonderful district. I don't know why we would combine. And I don't know why we're still talking about this when so many people are telling you that Southern Berkshire Regional School District is just fine as it is. It seems like we're talking to politicians, right? Like a lot of smiling and nodding, and we understand. But you guys are just doing whatever you want anyway. That's just my comment. The thing I would need to know before I voted would be a detailed list of who is going to lose their job. Right, because we're not going to keep all the teachers from both districts employed. We have a ton of brand new young teachers here at Southern Berkshire who are phenomenal. So I'm assuming, because they're new, that they would be losing their jobs. So I think it'd be super important to know who's staying and who's going, because I think that would help people make a decision, right? What kind of teachers are we having at this new school? Who's staying and who's going? But that needs to be answered, not like, yes, okay, that's great, and then we'll never talk about it again. That's it, thank you.
What town are you from?
I school choice, and I am from Great Barrington.
Okay, thank you very much. I can give you one answer to your question. One of the advantages is the entire staff in both cases has protections through the MTA. So, and that's not the transit authority. That is the Massachusetts Teachers Association. So the MTA and the head of Berkshire County for the MTA is totally aware of what's going on, and there are very strict guidelines that would have to be followed in how the how any actions are taken regarding staff. Number one. Number two, why are we continue to talk about this? There are so many opinions, and as passionate as you could be in terms of your view, there are other people who have a different view. We even have students when they get together who express opinions across the spectrum. This is a once in a generation decision. So it is not easy. If we voted our guts today, do I know it would be any different 3 months from now? I don't. But that's the reason we're asking you to tell us this, because we have not had a lot of commentary on that. And the fact that so many of you so far tonight have just honed in on the education issue means we've got a lot of people who are passionate about what we're going to deliver in education. That it's not just about buildings and buses and bus routes. So I thank you. And when you say what you say about our staff, I know we thank you. All right, Jesse, who do we have?
The next one is, do we have updated projected enrollment numbers? And then the second question, part of that, how does a merger R.S.D.
How does a merger?
How will the merger benefit this school? the second part of their question about projected enrollment.
The question is projected enrollment numbers and how a merger would benefit our district.
We can just log them. You don't have to answer.
And yes, I think we'd be better off just logging that.
In case you didn't hear, I think we're gonna log some of these and not necessarily try to answer them all, but we do get updated enrollment figures from the state as a 10-1 number that we report every, we report enrollment actually at every month at the school committee meetings. But there are also state reports and there's all sorts of data. R.S.D runs reports, so there's all sorts of enrollment data that you can look at and you know, we're happy to discuss that.
And we've been steady on our enrollment.
We're actually up in the last couple of years.
Yeah, but
We're increasing.
what was just said by Kim is there have been increases, particularly because of the fact we have so many young children who have come in and stayed here. So our kindergarten, our early grades have expanded. Anel?
Go ahead. You want to come up here?
Yep. So, I have many questions. I will only ask one because it hasn't been asked yet. All my other questions actually have been asked. They seem like pretty popular questions. And, this is kind of frustrating to me because I was on the school committee for 4 years and on the planning board for the last year and a half or two. And these questions have been asked throughout that time, and they're still being asked because there are no answers. But the one question I have that hasn't been asked yet has to do with the actual physical buildings. I know that there's a plan for a new high school, and I'm assuming that the middle school and elementary school up in Great Barrington will stay. That hasn't been mentioned. What about our buildings? What about here under Mountain? And what about our New Marlboro Central and South Egremont school buildings? Is there a plan for that? And if so, what is it?
I can tell you, in the resolution that was passed earlier on by the regional planning board, it was stated that all of the elementary and middle schools would remain open. It, however,
Yeah, it's concerning because I read probably 90% of the regional plan agreement, and there is a very detailed, lengthy section on how to proceed in closing schools.
Yes.
all right, therefore I don't have to say that.
You don't have read it.
Yes.
We want to discuss the other two.
I'm trying to figure out.
Okay.
Larry,
Come on,
Jane. Just give me 1 second.
Yes, Jane and Larry.
Jane and Larry have their hand up.
Just once again.
All right, Justin, you want to go take a
Larry,
minute?
first, then I'm trying to figure out.
All right, Jane?
Yeah, I was gonna ask for, we need a lot more clarification about the transition authority of the interim school committee, because it looks pretty clear that there is a possibility of closing schools after the town votes, but because it's not part of the plan that the planning board has put out. And I'm wondering, I'm looking at the agenda for tomorrow night's meeting, and I'm wondering why there's time being put in about naming the new district when we haven't agreed that we're having a district, and there's so many other things that need to be attended to. And I'm just questioning the amount of detail that's going on when the basic, how much it's going to cost and who's going to have power needs to be addressed before anybody can vote about anything. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane.
I want to echo the questions that have spoken about the education component and where that is falling or falling off. of this process, as well as one of my favorite subjects is actually the proposed regional agreement. I have done extensive work on that, which I have been told third hand is not allowed to be discussed by the planning group. But that agreement should be read by everyone extremely carefully. The woman who just spoke is absolutely right about school closures that would potentially happen and what happens to the money from those potential sale of school lands, where that money goes. I am extremely concerned about the transition committee and the job that they have under the proposed regional agreement. It seems like and I don't want to dismiss any of the incredibly hard work that 24 plus people have been doing for the last 2+ years. I would not want to be on this committee because I think it is probably the hardest thing I've ever seen anybody work on. And they're all to be thanked and credited for their work, just as Beth and the school committee are for this Q&A and info session tonight. I have gotten more answers tonight, and thank you, Bonnie, than I have gotten by reading all of the Q&A on the town website. But I would again go back to the proposed regional agreement. Please read it. The transition committee will turn out to be the most important element of this entire process. 11 people who are currently to be appointed. There's no funding for them, and they continue to get more and more work, such as determining the buildings and the leases. They also get to deal with all the labor contracts. And again, if you read the transition agreement, you'll see everything they're doing. They're doing the nuts and bolts that we will not know about when we vote on this. So I think there has to be much more work done on the transition agreement so that the true essence of this proposed merger, which actually I continue to be open to. I used to be much more positive than I am now, but I continue to be open to it. That committee will hold the power. Unless we know what's going on, we are going to be voting in the dark and voting for a blank check. And I think we need to be extremely concerned about that. Thank you.
Renee, thank you. I can only second 8towns.org. You can read the latest version of the document. And it, as Renee said, it is critical that we all read it and bring up questions. Renee brought to my attention a number of factors from her perspective, having been on head of our select board in Sheffield, that I didn't even think about. So we all can contribute a great deal, and we're open to hearing more from you even after tonight. But read that document.
I think we're gonna do this
We're
question.
gonna do this question.
Hold on.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you two questions.
Two questions.
One which has come up over and over again, what is the benefit of this to Southern Berkshire Regional School District?
So just
Come
repeat
up
that.
In the chat a bunch of times.
All right, what's appeared in the chat a bunch of times, to quote Mr. Carpenter, is how does this benefit the Southern Berkshire Regional School District?
The question that is specifically, and I'm gonna try to read through this. It says, okay, in a nutshell, which is probably impossible. What is the position of each school committee member here on how the merger will improve? And they've listed 3 things. The first one is the quality of life of each and every student and his or their education in preparation for the rest of their lives. 2, build a sense of community, family, and commitment to democracy, but such education is in part meant to engender. And 3, creates the model that the rest of the nation, particularly for Texas and Florida, residents aspire to.
We'll write that one down.
Scroll down again. Does the
We'll capture
person
that.
wants us to do that now?
Yeah.
Each
I don't think we
person? I'm sure we would each be more than happy to respond to you, but we're going to defer our response.
Are you? Are you gonna defer your response? I'm asking.
I have no problem.
You all look like you have a big question.
Do you have any problem? The question that has been raised are we prepared as school committee members sitting here to state our view on 3 things? And Jesse would give us each one at a time.
Yeah, and the person would like you guys to, that just came through.
Is
So
what?
that the person is hoping you're not going to defer, they would like to hear your answer.
Okay.
So I'll give you number 1 first. So they want to know how the merger will improve the quality of life for each and every student and his or their education in preparation for the rest of their lives.
All right, I will answer number 1. The question is, how will this improve the education of our students basically for the rest of their lives if there is a merger? All right, I will quote or paraphrase a young lady who graduated a number of years ago, who said she wished in a number of cases she had larger classes. That and our former high school, middle school principal had said, if he had 56 more students at Mount Everett, he would have more robust classes and not need to add another teacher. So that, to me, is just that famous number issue that's hanging over us. I personally, from having worked with school districts throughout the United States, Mexico, England, etc., I can say without prejudice, well, maybe it's a bit of prejudice, that I am quite impressed by what goes on in our district. The people who go out of their way in such unique ways to provide a really special education. And when a parent of a 2nd grader says he's ecstatic that his daughter is being introduced to robotics, that's special. We provide, I mean, that's where I'm prejudiced. We provide incredibly special opportunities. Do I doubt that it happens in Berkshire Hills? I'm sure it does. But the only thing that has stayed with me is the question of class size. And for me, does that outrule the educational quality issues with what we have here? No.
From Egremont. I've been a school psychologist for 42 years. My life's work was seeing the children got an education that fit their needs so that they could grow up to be the best person they could be. When I asked the question of how will the merger improve the quality of our children's education, I don't get an answer that convinces me that'll happen. This is a high quality district that we have. Do wonderful work with the kids. And I don't know what would change to make that better for the consolidation.
Arthur Pataki from Sheffield. I graduated from this high school. My children graduated from this high school. And it's served everybody in this area to the fullest. And I'm proud of this school district, and I don't see it being any better going up the road.
I'm Kim Alcantara Jeffries from Monterey. And I have perspective on both districts as I had a child attend Berkshire Hills Regional School District. And there is a reason that even though I live 6 miles from that district, my children attend here. I am deeply fond of the way the community is within our school. The education that my children receive, the support that my children receive, especially with a 504. It is something that I don't or didn't seek. I'm not against the merge anyway, because I'm going to do best for all children no matter what. But I do not see the quality of my education for my children improving or being better any place but here.
Kyle Bartlett from Egremont. I have 3 children in this school district. As far as how the quality of the education would improve, I think that it's entirely unknown. There's really not a lot of data, not a lot of information that says that it would. And I would think an argument could be made for smaller class sizes just as well as it can be made for larger ones.
I'm Dennis Sears. I'm from Sheffield, Mass. I've been on the school committee for quite a while. And basically, you know, my concerns are not only just about the education of the children, but what it would mean, you know, to the community as a whole. And, you know, right now, you know, we are a unique school district in that we have developed and have turned it into a very effective early college program, you know, through the relationships and the work that our superintendent has done. That is extremely unique. And I think over time, the reason I'm so sold on that is it's something that can bring a lot of strength to our entire community through the prospects of, you know, developing new businesses and so forth and so on through that, you know, course of study, you know, and it's something that is not available, you know, at the other outfit that we would be merging with. And, you know, I think that is something that's unique about this particular district. And it's something that is of high value to everybody in the towns that are in this district. And I would hate to see us lose that. So that's why, you know, unless somebody can give me another sales pitch that, you know, that I can believe, that's why right now, I'm not currently in favor of this at all. Okay.
Hello, I'm Paul Stewart from Alfred. Although this is the first few months on this term of school committee, there was a four-year hiatus between 2018, 2022, when I was not a member, but I was a member for 9 years from 2009 to 2018, and the chair, I believe, for 6 of those years. I have somewhat of a reputation for being prolix, and that's maybe too kind to me. I'm going to try to avoid that prolixity, but I have a couple of things to say. One, Monument is building a new school. that school is going to have an advanced, state-of-the-art vocational technical program. The fact is that 20% of all Massachusetts high school students are voc tech students. Just using numbers, 20% of the students of this high school students in this school will choice into monument. Further increasing the very strong likelihood that 10 years from now, this is my belief, can't be proven, and I probably won't be a sentient being 10 years from now, but there will be no Mount Everett High School. I've been the Berkshire Regional Planning Commission statistics on decline in school numbers for many years. I've been a member since its inception of the Berkshire County Educational Task Force, and I firmly believe that this high school won't exist as Mount Everett High School 10 years from now. In addition, and this is a fact that's not widely known, of the students, high school seniors at Mount Everett who leave high school and start a 4-year college program, and this is not some secret number or an invented number, over half not only don't graduate in 4 years, they don't graduate in 5 years, they don't graduate in 6 years, they never graduate. So more, which is a figure that is significantly lower than most of the rest of the country. I think that what language can you take? What languages can you take? Spanish, yes, take that everywhere. French to a lesser degree. Mandarin, no. Russian, no. German, no. Italian, no. Japanese, no. Many. That can only be done in a larger school, because you can't get here a teacher to teach Mandarin, the second largest economy in the world, China. So I think that, yes, there will be bumps along the way. I think it is essential that the merger go through, and that's a position I've held for a long, long time. From before the committee, the regional district planning board was formed, I've thought it for a long, long time. I continue to think it'll be very difficult to get me to change my mind. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm David Rochester from Sheffield. So the question of how will this improve the education? I think the real thing that everybody is dancing around and wants to know is, we don't know. No one knows. That has not been decided. The new district we don't even know what the new district will be, so we can't know how that will improve, or if it will improve educational opportunities for anyone in any of the towns. In my opinion, the best and only reason to merge would be if the two districts combined and use economies of scale to provide more educational opportunities to the students and a wider array of educational opportunities. And that would depend on reducing excess costs between the two districts, and probably require closure of more buildings than anyone wants. But to really make that work financially, you know, the towns have got to save money somewhere. But I would hope that we can have these things fleshed out at least somewhat more thoroughly from the planning board. Because right now, there's just that can't be known, because we don't know what the district is ultimately going to look like. None of those decisions have been made.
This is a mic without a phone.
Yeah, we're gonna go all the way back down.
I didn't know where the
No, I want to clarify, so hold on.
I'd like to know where you got those
That's
numbers. Did
what
you
I wanna
provide that
Yeah,
information?
great.
Because I'd like to know if it's a credible source. It sounds, I don't want to, I just would like to see where those numbers actually came from.
May I clarify on that?
Which, well,
About the graduation.
no, I
rate.
understand that.
Yeah.
Is that the number you're referring to?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have that with
Well, I
me,
think
but
that's
it's,
important information to have.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
gonna say something like that.
May I rebut that one?
Yes.
fine.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
But we don't,
So-
we're gonna cut it after this.
So that is not a Mount Everett number. That is a statewide statistic. So that is not owned by our school. Yes, it is true.
That's why I'd like the actual source.
if you give me your, at the end of this meeting, if you give me your contact information, I'll provide it.
That'd be great. And I will happily share it with anyone else.
You are also able, those are all public. So those numbers are public and you can actually go to, and I can't say where on the DESI website, but there is that information. And I just have to add one thing. I don't know what we do here, but I've helped 3 different students get jobs. Every one of the employers, and these were all New York City jobs, said, can you send us more? Your kids multitask like nobody's business. I've never had employees who come in after college and have this attitude that you work until the job is done. You don't leave at 5 o'clock, that they can complete multiple tasks. And I had the same experience with a recommendation I made for a student for a scholarship. The scholarship committee at the reception said, are you gonna send us more? We don't get qualified students like this. So something special does go on here. And I have to tell you, whoever the combination of what was said on the Zoom group and what was said here, we've never done this. So until you push this tonight, we have never shared our opinions this way. So for me, I thank you for that push.
I want to thank you, everyone here tonight, for being so honest and forthcoming. That, I'm sure, wasn't an easy thing to do. Can you hear me? It wasn't an easy thing to do, but I want to say that my heart is in this building. In the early 90s, late 80s, I was on a team with Janet Naylor from Egremont, and we went knocking door to door to get this building built. And we worked on it for over 2 years. We got the money. It was fantastic. Now, Monument Mountain has been trying to do this for a number of years. I don't know if anybody knows Karen Smith from Great Barrington, but she is a bulldog and she got the most wonderful grants and got so many great things in line to build their school. And their towns turned it down. Why? Tell me, why are we doing this? Why are we even wasting our time with this? Also, I have 3 children, all graduated from here, all went to college. My youngest just got a PhD. All 3 of my grandchildren are in this school. And I think all 6 of them, 3 of them got it fantastic, and the other 3 are young, and they're getting a wonderful. I love the small classrooms. I love that each teacher knows my children by name. They're not a number. And I feel like all of their needs, because they're all different, all their needs have been met. Thank you. And thank you again to all of you for speaking out tonight. Thank you. And my name is Joanne, and my daughter is on the school committee. Sarah Collins.
Mr. Carpenter. Thank you. Go ahead. No, let's get the Zoom people in.
Yeah, I think, I mean, there were two other parts of the question, but I think you guys answered a lot of question number two.
Yeah, I'd rather.
We'll save the other states
Yes.
later.
Yeah.
The next question is there a possibility that if we as town cannot come up with an agreement, will the state step in within the next few years and force a merger in their terms? Is the question from someone.
All right, the question from someone is, if we don't come up with a merger, will the state be forcing the merger? This has been a rumor that has been going on for years and years. It's come from government, from education, etc. Right now, we operate based on facts. The facts are, we're putting together a budget for the Southern Berkshire Regional School District. The facts are, we are expanding our early college wall-to-wall high school. The facts are, we're expanding our career pathways with the idea of all students being prepared for work. We don't have the facts. And it is clear that in any talks you have with our political leaders in our community, and a number of us were on a Zoom call with our elected officials, it doesn't hurt to make your point of view known to your elected officials. All they have to do is see the call, the short note. And we particularly in Smitty Pignatelli have somebody who knows our district inside out. So I think it behooves us to take whatever actions we can in any ways that we're able to, because we have not heard what we're hearing tonight. And we were really nervous about putting this together. You have another, Jesse?
Yeah, the next person says, I believe that the building you are in tonight is owned by the district. Should the high school move, what or who decides how to restructure elementary and secondary classes for R.S.D, and what else might the space be used for?
All right, the question is, in case it hasn't been heard, we, the district, own this campus. Should the merger take place and our high school students move up north, what happens to the use of the building? First of all, we use a great deal of this space. So we are, obviously, the elementary school is packed, the preschool is packed. The middle school, which Jesse can speak to even more, uses a good part of Mount Everett. So the question of how to use other space that exists here, this was built as a community school. So there are options for after-school programs. There are loads of things. Those decisions would be made I'm not avoiding this question. It's not being made now. We are operating based upon the Southern Berkshire doing what it's doing. Do you want to respond to that, Beth?
Because I believe what they're asking is what happens if the merger goes through. So if the merger goes through, it'll be the decision will be up to the new school committee or the transition committee about decisions prior. Right. So that we won't be making any of those decisions.
The next question, and I'm going to try to do it in 2 ways. So one person is asking for us to post a document link with the page numbers listed with the steps to close schools. They're saying that they need the exact language to be heard everywhere. And then someone else followed up with a similar question about the possibility of closing small schools, South Egremont and Marlboro Central. It's extremely concerning. These schools are so valuable to the S.B.R.C. community, and education provided in these small school environments is invaluable. The person's an alum of New Marlboro Central and Mount Everett and values the small class sizes. And then again, the question of how does this benefit S.B.R.C. Just, I don't know if you want to speak to the concern that people have that ultimately this would lead to the closing of the elementary schools.
All right, there are two things that we can post. One, we can post the language as it exists in the current regional agreement. So you'd have to go to two different places. We can make it easy. We can actually copy it. So we post the language in our current regional agreement regarding closure of schools. And then we can also post as well the language that is in the proposed regional agreement that's being discussed now. But give us a day or two.
Yeah. So, I believe the next few questions were in response to, conversations that were had by corporate members for answering the other question. Another asked for where statistics came from one of the comments. The second one, and I think you guys can just answer this, will they be offering all the foreign languages at this new proposed school? I think it's important just to, I think the person sincerely asking are all those languages going to be offered.
The curriculum decisions will be made by the new leadership team of the district. And the curriculum decisions will be made by the new school committee. Some of those decisions are being made during, I could be wrong, I'm putting a caveat here. Some of those decisions, it looks like, will be made during the transition period as they prepare for what they will need in the new school. So those decisions have not been made at this point and will not be made at the earliest until if there is a merger, there is a transition committee.
Can I make a comment? I want to ask a question. I just want to make sure we're.
Are we up to date? Can we take?
Sorry. And then we're getting like, so. That's okay. Come on.
I'm offered, so
Please sit down because
this has been going on, these discussions and meetings have been going on for what, almost 3 years?
March will be 3 years.
I've been
We
in a
had
few of them.
one meeting pre-pandemic and then the pandemic hit.
Right. I've been in a few of them, and I don't know why this is the first time we've had this format where we can come forward and ask questions. I know the small towns have done it, but after 3 years, there is still no information. There is still no answers. 3 years of each town submitting money. Alfred was asked for more money and we gave it. And there's still no answers. There's still no data. There's still nothing. Everybody keeps kicking it down to the board when we decide to merge. But the problem is we cannot decide to merge without these numbers or these decisions or whoever's going to be that board saying, if we were going to do this, this is what we would do. We would shut down the school, we would merge the elementaries, we would fire 10 teachers, we would merge the back office. After 3 years, we need these answers, and you're asking us to vote and make decisions on things that we still haven't been given answers on. As far as I can tell, this district is amazing. I homeschool, but my kids come in here for theater and they love it, and this environment has been truly welcoming. My father-in-law grew up in Sheffield, and he remembers when this district was formed and why it was formed. And it was formed because the other 3 towns had a bigger population and they would always override the small 5 towns. That's why we're here. That's why this district is here. If it's not broke, why are we trying to shove it into a different fix? It's working. Everybody, I mean, not everybody, but a lot of people are happy with it. There's so many stories here of people's kids and their grandkids, and
kids currently in the district that are doing fine. So why are we still here after 3 years?
Thank you.
Jesse's
coming back. Jesse is coming back.
If you want to take, the next person, and then you need to call on Martin, it's up, like, you call on.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll let Kevin,
Shocking.
shocking.
So it's enrollment has come up and enrollment numbers have come up. And so as I mentioned, I have 3 kids in first grade here and I'm in New Marlboro Central. And I might add, it's the biggest class of 21 that's come through there in a while. And there are now 2 preschool classes there, which is amazing, which to me says perhaps, and it's all anecdotal, I don't have the facts, this is anecdotal, that perhaps maybe the community is growing post-pandemic, which would be amazing. But there's another potential opportunity that maybe we should explore. And, you know, I'm from Sandusfield, so we choiced it. And we are grateful that we did because it is an amazing school and school district. Our kids are in, well, it's the biggest class, but they get individual attention. They are all 3 incredibly different kids who absolutely love school, which is amazing.
That's the best thing to hear.
It is. They come home every day and tell us all the new things that they've learned but that perhaps there's another opportunity here that Sandusfield is they're debating on whether to leave their current district, Farmington River. So if that should happen, perhaps there's an opportunity here that they could merge with our district because a lot of the kids that make up the 21 students in our class are from Sandusfield and we choiced it. So that to me says there's obviously an interest, which, you know, is great because it is a great district. So I think it's something to consider. And as whoever it was that was just up here just mentioned, if it ain't broke, why fix it?
You are now the 5th person in the 3 weeks who has brought to my attention Sandusfield and Wacomico.
It's another small another small town that would, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
Jess, are we back?
We're back to you, Jesse. Oh, Martin Mitchell.
Just call on, Martin Mitchell.
Oh,
You're
yes.
next to speak.
Martin Mitchell, please.
Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, everyone. I want to pick up on the comments of the 2 last speakers and try to help this conversation along by virtue of the fact that I attended a high school of my graduating class was, I think, around 700 people. My average class size was probably 35. It was the worst possible place for me to grow up. And it was when I went to college, and I'm not suggesting that college is the only answer for our students in the Southern Berkshire Regional School District, but I had class sizes of 10 to 12 people, and I thrived. And I think that the quality of the education, we've heard it now tonight, based upon one of my previous questions. We ask each of the school committee members, what are your views on this? And I think it's been abundantly clear that the school system that we have is an incredible school system. It's going to, yes, is it going to cost us more money to educate a smaller number of students over time? It probably is. That's an investment that I would make all day long. And I'm telling you, we don't have children in the school district. We don't have children that we have to educate. We appreciate all of you parents out there that educate your children and that send them to this school district. I have not heard a convincing argument that there's a great idea behind this merger. We have a great school district. We have great educators. We have great administrators here. We do what we do well. Yes, we're gonna have shrinking classes, but there's nothing wrong with that per se. And we always have the capability of adding to the classes when the population, if and when it increases. I think we've gone through a lot tonight. This is the most informative and open set of discussions that we've had. And I would simply ask you to think about the quality of the district that we have. It's a great quality district. And part of the question that I raised earlier with Jesse was, let's make it the envy of what's going on in Texas and Florida and other places. This is what a school district should be. Thank you all who are participating in making it what it is. That's all.
Martin, thank you so much. Definitely, on behalf of the school committee, I think we'll take a couple of more because we've gone over time, but this discussion has been really enlightening.
This has been a wonderful conversation. This is the third one I've attended. This is the largest attendance. And it's been the most that has been a conversation. So I want to thank you all very much. Given that several of the planning board members have dropped off due to a number of reasons, and that the chair dropped off with the comment that she couldn't hear early on, I would really encourage, and I'm sorry, it's more work. I would really encourage that these questions and everything that has come up in the chat and in fact, the whole recording be sent to the planning committee, the planning board, so that they will see the totality of this conversation, the depth of the questions, people's comments, and really, I know that the Bar Foundation is looking for how to encourage more input and community conversation, and I think this is really the example to follow. So thank you all so much. Done such a wonderful job, and you really so much to our community by holding this conversation.
Renee, thank you so much. I can't tell you how nervous we have been about doing this.
So I have hands are everywhere. Go ahead.
Jesse?
Just after the next person, I have another person.
Okay.
I'm just wondering, after sitting here tonight and getting a sense not only of what you are feeling around this topic, but what a lot of people are sharing and expressing. Is there a way that we as a district can vote whether we continue to pursue this process? It just seems like if a lot of us are saying no, then why are we still wasting time and energy and money, right? Because there's so much money that's gone into this. If the sense is that nobody or the majority doesn't want to pursue this, could there be a vote that just comprises of the town that make up our district? Of whether we want to move forward or not in the moving forward or not in deciding if we want to do the district. It's just, I feel like we're on a hamster wheel a little bit.
Thank you for that question. And Jesse, who do we have?
There's a person waiting, Susan.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you very, very much for this incredibly enlightening and informative discussion. As many of you know, I am a very large supporter of the little schools of our district. And while we haven't always seen eye to eye on things, I think Dennis Sears and I are on the same page relative to the extraordinary opportunities these two events, the little schools and our new relationship with Simon's Rock for early education, affords this district an amazing, unique presentation for families coming in, hearing that Sandusfield is now preschooling with the idea that their children can continue in through early education in college. one of the concerns about the little schools was that we were losing our children once they had gone through there up to Great Barrington. And I think now the strength that I see from what I'm hearing tonight, we are really stabilizing a soup to nuts opportunity. And I thank Dennis for raising that point. How we then vote ourselves, again, this question of what precisely is in this new agreement. I didn't like the last agreement that we're now operating under. That's how long I've been involved in this, Beth. I can see your eyebrows going up. But the reality is, I think we're hearing a new consciousness about, okay, we've had 3 years, we've looked at this stuff, it's beginning to gel. And we have grown so much through pandemic, pre-pandemic, thanks to Beth's great passive nature for putting up with a number of the shenanigans that any small town will bring to bear in a situation like this. So thanks to her, thanks to the school district. Let's keep going with getting clarification on what precisely it is, but more and more, I'm not sure whether we really do need it. I think we can go it alone at this point. We've got the people, we've got the will, and we certainly apparently have a good looking structure for the next 10 years going forward about what kind of a district we want to be for the 21st century. So thank you all. That's it. I've appreciate everything that's been said tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question, and I don't know, Renee, you still a lady. I was told by our Sheffield town clerk that last year, 200 new people registered in Sheffield. I wonder, and question that was brought up by somebody, whether the increase is related to the pandemic. Is there a way we can find out from all of our towns about any increases we can in population of, so each of the towns can give us that information? Renee's response is, yes, we can find it out, and they are just finishing the annual census.
I just checked with Joseph.
Okay, Jesse, back to you.
I think we covered all the questions in the. Yeah.
We're gonna save that though.
Yeah.
Art, maybe?
Art?
I have two questions that nobody's talked about tonight. What happens to the towns with the bond that we have in the school district? The bond that we have to run the school district, we have a number of years left on the bond. Who now takes responsibility of that money?
We do. I can answer that.
And I got one other question.
Okay.
Our district agreement, how do we break that district agreement with the 4 or 5, with the towns that we have here to start a new school district? Do we have to break this first to enter into a new school district?
All right. The answers to the questions raised by Art. We are still responsible. The bond, for those of you who may not know, is what enabled us to put in a different heating system and to put in a roof that is actually 1 acre. Having walked our roof and being informed, we have a 1 acre roof, and we have the boiler, and we have the more efficient pellet system. So we are still paying that off, fortunately, at a wonderfully low rate. There are guidelines laid out in the proposed regional agreement as to how the districts, dissolution of the districts and the formation of the new district. And there are also guidelines in our current regional school agreement. Not easy, but that's part of the reason we've had legal counsel on the planning board. Well, with that, I'll turn it over to Beth, but first, I'm going to thank you on behalf of the school committee. I learned a lot. Hopefully you did. We don't have all of the answers we want. But the questions from both our Zoom folks and here have really been enlightening and informative. So thank you.
I know everybody's hurting and ready to go home, all of us, that is. But these conversations, and I think what's unique about this district as well is that I can always count on feedback from our community members, whether it was helping us reopen schools, whether it's talking about, you know, vaccinations or policies or whatever. You always step up and you tell us what you really think. And sometimes that's not always wonderful to hear, but sometimes it really is. And tonight was one of those times. So thank you so much for continuing to share your voices with us, and we will do our best to compile all this and make sure it gets shared here and to the place. So thank you all for coming.